Today, the way Jack would want it is that everybody in here is a MacDougall, right? Isn't that what he would want? So what we're going to do, if you don't know me, I'm Joe Gould. I'm Julie's husband. I think for a lot of people, obviously, this is a very hard day, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be a good day. I think there's one thought that everybody might want to keep in mind, and that's that there's a lot of broken hearts in the room, but there's nothing more whole than a broken heart. And I think this is a day where everybody can come together and celebrate Jack's life. So what we're going to do, first of all, is Michael's going to play Amazing Grace on bagpipes. And then, excuse me, Bubby. And then I'm going to say a few words about Jack, and then we'll invite everybody else up to speak as well. Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
Good.
Oh, God. Okay.
Me that she wants to make sure that when we're finished, everybody eats the Italian food because it was Jack's favorite Italian food. And also, please sign the guest book. You know, when it was obvious that Jack was going to pass, Julie and I were talking, and I told her that it would be an honor if I got to get up and say a few things about Jack. Right? So I started thinking, and I thought about, you know, it's interesting when someone that close to you passes away, you start thinking about your mortality, what it really means, and what death is all about. I think one of the biggest fears that people have around dying is, will they be remembered, right? And I think this is obviously a sign that Jack will be remembered, but I started thinking about the effect that Jack's had on my life, specifically over the past couple of years. And there were literally 3 things that Jack taught me. And it all started, I've known Jack for 29 years, but the three things that he taught me really started a couple of years ago. The first thing that Jack taught me was about connection, about love and connection. It was interesting because, you know, Jack didn't have someone that like cut his hair. Jack had a friend that cut his hair, right? He didn't have the postman. He had a friend that delivered his mail. You know, the lady that served him coffee, that was a friend that just gave him coffee. It wasn't the waitress in the diner, right? That's who Jack was. And I think with, I think with Facebook, it gave Jack the ability to connect on a much bigger scale, right? So 2.5 years ago, when I moved to California, and Julie and Jack were already there, I had a long conversation with Jack. And personally, I'd just gone through a very difficult time in my life, and I was still going through it. And somehow I felt comfortable talking about it with Jack, which was interesting because if you know me, I'm a fairly private person. I don't really talk about my feelings much, right? But I am today, because that's what Jack would want. So Jack started telling me this story, and I really didn't get it till probably a year later what was happening, right? So Jack's telling me about the fact that he went to Sturgis. And in Sturgis, they did this side trip to Mount Rushmore. So they go to Mount Rushmore, and when Jack traveled, right, Jack didn't travel to go see things. He went to go see people, right? So if he went to Maui to see Michael and the family, he wasn't going there to see Maui. He never talked about Maui. What he talked about was Michael and the kids, his grandkids. When he came to see us, when we lived in Arizona, when we lived in Sedona, Jack could care less what Sedona looked like. He came to see us. He'd come to see us in California. It's not much to see in California, but Jack came to see us. That's why he was there. So Jack didn't travel to go see things. Jack traveled to go see people. And his connection with people was amazing. Because as uncommon as Jack might find somebody, he found something that was common about them with him. He was like a magnet, right? You go into a restaurant with Jack, and people would just come to him. And he always had that big smile on his face. So Jack starts telling me this story, how they go to Mount Rushmore. And everybody's walking up this. I've never been there, but you have to walk. I guess you have to walk to see this thing. Well, Jack wasn't about to walk to see this thing, so he's sitting on this bench down below, and he notices this young Chinese girl near him. These two Chinese women, young. So Jack strikes up a conversation with them, and he decides with this young lady that they're going to be pen pals. Now, first of all, when was the last time anybody said pen pal? I mean, that's going to go back like, what, 30, 40, 50 years? But Jack's going to be pen pals with this young lady. So they start corresponding, and Jack's telling me this story as I just poured out my heart to him, and I have no idea why he's telling me this, right? It hit me about a year later. So Jack builds up this relationship, this friend, this young lady that lives in China, and his connection with people is so deep that he didn't just write back and forth and correspond with her. He eventually gets on a plane, flies to China, and spends time with her family. I mean, that's incredible, right? There's a guy in his 70s that's building a friendship with a young Chinese national and flies to China to hang out with her and her family, not to see China. So what I learned from that, and it's the first thing I learned that Jack taught me, was don't hide. Connect, right? Make connections, make friends. Because, again, I think one of our fears is what's our legacy going to be? And when I think about Jack, the first thing that came to my mind was his kids, his grandkids, his great-grandkids. It's not what it was about for Jack. It was the fact that everyone he connected to was this deep connection. And I think that meant a lot to him. as I know probably everybody in this room meant to him. So that's the first thing that I learned from Jack on that trip when he came out to see us 2.5 years ago. The second thing I learned was, when Jack tells you to do something, don't say no, right? So I start this new job, and again, I'm picking up the pieces of some things that had happened in our lives, right? So I have this new job, and I'm probably there about 30 days. Jack shows up to where I'm working in his van, right? He comes walking in with his cane. He says to me, he says, come on, we're going for coffee. I said, Jack, I can't leave. I said, you know, I don't have the time right now. He said, make the time. So all I'm thinking is, I'm at this new job, and my father-in-law is going to come in and beat the crap out of me in front of my new employer, right? This 75-year-old guy. So I said, fine. So I get in the van with Jack, and we go for coffee. But when you went for coffee with Jack, you weren't going to coffee with Jack. You were with Jack, and you just happened to have coffee, right? That's what it was. So we went and we had coffee, and Jack says, I want you to just listen. Jack, for about 20 minutes, tells me about all the people that have hurt him in his life, the things that they did wrong to him. And I'm thinking to myself, why the heck is he telling me this, right? Then he spends the next 45 minutes talking about the things that he's done to other people wrong. And then he starts talking about integrity. And he said to me, he said, look, he said, this is what integrity is. He said, integrity isn't what other people think of you, it's what you think of yourself. And you can't have integrity until first you apologize to the people that you've wronged, but more importantly, until you forgive yourself. So that was the second thing that Jack taught me. He taught me about integrity and what it really meant, and that it's okay to forgive yourself for anything you've ever done. So the third thing that I learned from Jack, you know, I'm going to get to that in a minute, but again, I think there's probably a lot of people in this room right now that are in a little bit of pain, right? There's a lot of broken hearts, yes? So what I've come to realize over time is there's a big difference between pain and suffering. Pain's okay. It's okay to have pain. That's how we remember things, right? A lot of time it's through pain. That's how we feel emotion. Suffering is when we feel that there's no hope. And Jack wouldn't want anybody to suffer because that's not what he was about. There's a quote. It's actually been by Renoir, who's one of my favorite artists. And Renoir in his later years had debilitating pains and aches throughout his whole body, to the point where he could barely hold a paintbrush. But he continued to paint. And one of his students said to him, why do you continue to paint when you're in that much pain? And what he said was, the pain passes, but the beauty remains. So what will happen over time for a lot of you, right, that are suffering, but not suffering, but you feel you're in pain right now, you'll have good days and you'll have bad days, right? That's what will happen. But over time, what will happen is that the sharp edges become a little bit more soft. So the pain becomes a little bit more easier. And that pain right now that maybe you can hold on to for a fleeting second, you have to let go of it because you can't hold on to it that tightly because it hurts too much. But what will happen over time, over the days, over the months, over the years, you'll be able to embrace it. And when you think of Jack, there won't be tears, there'll just be smiles. Does that make sense? So the third thing that Jack taught me was something that I think he taught all of us, and I think it's a really, really important lesson. And it's not something that I've really embraced in my life. And it's about faith-based strength. Because Jack obviously had a lot of faith-based strength, as we all know, right? And that third thing that Jack taught me about faith-based strength was that I'm a sick fucking bastard, but it's okay because God loves me anyway, right? So Jack, God love you, you sick bastard. So I invite everybody else up to speak.
Follow. And it's not an act, I'm sure. My name is Bob MacDougall, for those people that don't know me. I'm Jack's younger brother. And I'm gonna... Baby brother. Thank you. It's called that all my life. We have a tradition. We do it all, wakes and weddings and fancy balls. Okay? And I don't want people to think that if you're not part of the clan, that you're slighted. You're not. You're very welcome. But what we do is gather the clan together first, and as everybody in the clan knows, we have a little taste of the dew on Jack. Okay? And then after we've all the clan's been wet down, then we'll invite everybody to do the same thing. Okay? About my brother, we had our ups and downs. There's no two ways about it. Brothers don't exist unless they have their ups and downs. Okay? Loved him dearly. For every smack in the face I got, I loved him dearly. You know? I don't think I can say I ever beat him. Okay? Broke his fingers once. I was telling my nephews that when I was a kid, we were only 10, 12 years old. I made a nightstick about this long, and he wanted it. I said, you keep coming, you're going to get it. So he reached out, he got it, and I broke his little finger. Right? He came back at me again, hit the other finger, broke that one. And I said, are you happy? He says, not yet. Bang, he hit me. Down I went, and he stomped the hell out of me. So, being the younger brother, I guess you can't beat your older brother, you know? I'm just happy that all you people came. I really am. I really appreciate it. And so does my family. I thank you very much.
I tried to call it once a week.
We heard it. Well, last night we were down.
She has a good group of friends down in Florida.
Okay. There you go. That's good for the start.
All right, are we ready?
Okay? I'm going to start with Michael. Go right ahead, my man. Slander. To Jack. Slander. I got a photographer shit for wicked doing this one. She kept on coming back. I kept on giving.
Yeah.
You want to smell it?
Do you want to smell it? Hey.
We did this with Cameron. I got him. I was like, drinking and holding him.
Yeah, translated from Scotland, where they originally immigrated from Oban, Scotland.
You know what they are?
House in the corner. Jennifer Church, I'll go down. Yeah, if you ever go by, you see this Jennifer.
I know, John, it's tough, isn't it?
I'm still
I'm making sure they're not look at this clown.
Gonna sing it?
Lawn show.
Oh, that's me too.
You just skipped it.
I know. Yeah.
I got you.
Where were
Don't
you
make
when?
me come over
Where
here.
were you when? Okay, that's fine. No, we don't force anybody. Go right ahead.
No, I already had one. Go ahead, Donald. Yeah, Bobby, you didn't even
Oh, Donald, we'll take another one. Take another one, Donald.
It's okay with me.
No, it's delicious.
Give me some for the rest of us.
That was a good one.
Come on, I feel like I'm in heaven.
Some people
My grandchild and great-grandchild.
No way.
Yeah, that's right. This is grandson. Oh, really? It's a little boy. His name is. Hi. Hi. Yes. No kidding. Oh, you want to pull my hair? But you have someone who wants. Oh yeah.
Yeah, have a bowl.
I don't know. Why didn't you go right there? Look at her hair. How cute is she? Well, if you're ever in Newton, come to Cabot Ice Cream.
I know. Me and Devin driving too. I was like, yeah! USA!
Oh, yeah,
Right, I'm going outside.
I was like, wait, I ain't giving it to you.
Hey, kiss?
Thank you, buddy.
Hey, can I have a kiss? No?
Mommy wants a kiss.
All right.
You want it back? Yeehaw! Give it to Uncle Joe. Give it to Uncle Joe.
He's looking at
Where's the flag?
kids. Oh.
Look out with the camera.
With the camera, honey. I can't.
What?
Can you take a picture?
Look at that way.
Here, look at that.
Look over there, buddy.
Stop it.
He's like, whatever.
What are you doing?
There we go. Pick.
Took off of my cover.
You can't even stand it. Oh, no, that would be classic, right? You could have ate pictures of the egg. A beer or
Auntie's coming for your belly.
handsomest. Oh, look at his hair.
Take it.
Now,
Hey.
my cousin Ricky Donald that lived next door.
Yeah, I can't wait till you put that in my eye.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to get a show.
That's right. Yeah, get one, Joe. Say hi to Uncle Joe. Oh, yeah.
Hello.
Hey.
Get him this way.
Hey. All right, get the cookies.
Buddy. Michael Lawrence.
You got a cookie out of it, huh? You gonna give me a buddy? My pop-up's right there. I'm MG Pop. Way to go, buddy. Look at it burn. He knows the hat's there now. You put it on my head? How's that? Does that look better?
Hair out of his eyes.
Pull it off?
He likes the pom-pom.
Pretty little and we're home. find a way of forgiving someone, someday, someday.